Okay, so now we just went through all of the consideration about the final image.
Yeah, about the final, we like to call it the key mood piece, because it tells some key elements from the game, and it also tries to sell the mood of the game itself. That is this colorful FPS. Then we'd like to go a bit more into some details about how should these two teams be equipped.
Yeah.
And as we talked about in the beginning, like we have this one army that is slow and well equipped and tough, and then we evolved that into it should be this drone army because it was based on Amazon, so of course it should be an Amazon drone army.
Yeah, so actually in our mirror board right now we have these like real people, but we actually thought it would be so much better if it was a drone army, so it's a robot army. So I think we looked at Chappie and Boston Dynamics, and this kind of got really inspired that, wouldn't it be cool if it was actually robots versus real people? Because to underlie this story contrast, Rebel versus Corp, DIY versus Rich Tech, Organics versus Sharp, I mean, the Corp army or the drone army would be so much better to really emphasize and underline this aspect.
Yeah, exactly. Hard-edged and really, just metal crew that was against this organic Favela crew to kind of emphasize these differences.
And this also gives some really, really fun design aspects. Like how do you take out a robot like a really tough titanium robot? How do you take that out? So we really got this like that talk going of like how would you DIY a zip gun so that you could take out a robot. So should we just jump into Photoshop and see something?
I think we should look a bit more about the mirror board because we have these considerations about how, if you go a bit down, about how the different groups look. We have this riot crew over here, so they have some riot guns. We wanted the game to be using non-lethal weapons, just to give it a twist. And then of course the drone army would then use some a bit more classical non-lethal weapons to take out the humans, and the humans would have to use some sort of other weaponry to take out the robots. And then the ideas is here. You can see on the right we have some non-lethal weapons, like how the riot guns are looking, and a Nerf gun as well, because it looks a bit like a Nerf gun. Some of the riot guns they use. Yeah. There's this net weapons and different weaponry that they use. And then if we go to the left, Andreas.
Yeah.
Then we looked a bit about at how you actually take out robots, and then we looked a lot at gun-like things that were not actually guns. So we looked at these nail guns.
Yeah.
And if you jump back into Photoshop.
Yeah. Sure. And let's just pull up the rebels to begin with.
Yeah, we just took a page and just started like iterating, like what could be cool guns. Like, are they using crossbows or slingshots? Are they using simple pliers to jump in and then just nab some wires? Are they using flamethrowers or tasers? Like, what is actually what could actually work against drones? And then we took that nail gun idea and tried, what if you kind of magnetize the nails, and then you can actually shoot like a gun, and it has this gun aesthetic as well, while you were able to do it in a non-lethal way still. Even though it probably hurt a bit at a human, it would be more efficient against the drone.
Yeah, so it was like the thought was like, if you don't have access to guns and arms, what else do you have access to? So like, what about a car repair shop? You would probably have a lot of materials lying around, or carpenter shop or stuff like that. So somebody has taken this nail gun from maybe a carpenter shop and then just modified it. So I guess, like, let me just check if that was the node layer I just pulled up. So yeah, we marked out and said this would actually be quite fun, this part here to say something about. So yeah, we went in and did a gun design, like a ranged weapon, and then a grenade.
Yeah,
and we did that for each team.
Yeah, exactly. So like this video, where we're talking a bit more about the rebel side and the rebel guns, and of course we knew that as you can see, like this is FPS where you're a team against another team, and you have these different classes. But it also needs to be these do-it-yourself kind of weapons that you would use against robots. So we just iterated on that. And then create some more sketches because we really like the nail gun concept. And then of course it needs to be colorful because it needs to look like the streets that they're in. So it needs to be, of course, the Jaguar attack and then these graffiti colors as well.
Yeah, so it was like when we chose this and said, oh, this would be the most cool thing to showcase. Then I went in and did a bit of design iterations on this aspect, and I think the idea of the coil being wrapped around an old pipe. So I took this design as a core with this ending, like it looks like a silencer with this like wrapped around. So it has this ragtag kind of look to it, which should be quite visible because it should be one team versus the other.
And you still have this gun aesthetic, right? You still have a magazine that you can reload. You still have these, you made nails as a crosshair so you can aim across them.
Yeah.
And then you still have the function of actually this magnetizing effect of the nails that you would then shoot with. So it still looks like a gun, but it works vitally different. So it needs to be, of course, important when we hand over the concept for a client that they can see this is very different and this is clearly meant for fighting like do-it-yourself against robots. But in the game itself, it just needs to be a ranged weapon that you pull up, and then you know which end to point it against the enemy, and you know that you can reload it, and it just needs to function as a weapon when you're in the heat of the combat.
So like 10% imagine and 90% based on the real world. So like to base it on something real so people don't get too confused. So I think this was the final image. Do you want to say something about like what we consider?
I think we should break this down in a later video where we talk about. So this could just be about the sketches, because I think there's also still a lot talk about the sketches if you pull out the previous one. Yeah. Because then we had a lot of ideas about how it should be made. Like we talked about flames and we talked about batteries.
Yeah, we talked about like these water guns, but with gasoline inside. We actually looked at quite a lot of YouTube videos with people crafting their own quite crazy contraptions. Like a lot of people with
YouTube is like a great tool for just again like Google Maps and Google Images and Pinterest and YouTube. It's just great tools. We found this German guy who built a lot of crazy slingshots, all sorts of things, and looked at how could they be done. So we also need to. We need to take into consideration, as Andreas said, like, do they have like this mechanic workshop that they could build, or what do they have? They don't have actual weapons, so they would need to use something else than actual weapons. And then maybe they had some fireworks, so we iterated a bit about like then they can put a firecracker onto something, and then so that was the final image. Final idea was this nail gun, and then as a grenade, it was just a spray can with a firecracker on the side that would just create a huge paint explosion. Because if it's robots that come, they still need to have. They still need to be able to have some sort of camera or something that could find the rebels. And if you just splatter that with paint, they would actually be immobilized somewhat. So this was the idea to have this as a sort of flash grenade.
Yeah, so like if you are the first person player for a robot army and you come rushing in through this grenade that goes off, you have to wipe the screen, or maybe the player does it automatically, but it takes 1 or 2 seconds delay. So you're
functionally, it would be the same as a flash grenade in Counter-Strike.
In CS you have the flash where you are like completely white screen for 2 seconds. So this is the same, and then a hand wipes off all the paint, and then you can clearly see again. So it's like you are immobilized for 2 seconds before it gets wiped off automatically. So function is the same as CS, but like style-wise and look, this is quite unique to have this paint bomb. Exactly. I haven't seen it in any other game.
Then we also iterated, maybe we should have magnets bomb, the one on the left.
That's the same firecracker with magnets. So
maybe you just have a bunch of batteries that you just gaffer tape together, and then you overcharge them and throw them, and then you have some sort of homemade EMP. So this is just iterations. And of course, if this had been for a client, we'd iterate it maybe along with them or hand it over like a sheet that would be a bit prettier set up than this. And then they could say, okay, what direction do we want to go? And then as we are our own clients for this one, we just chose 2 of them and went with that. That was. I think that was it for the rebel weaponry. And then the next video we'll go through the drone army.
I won't show the final image again, but it was just to say that this is the one we chose. So the next video will be about the drone army, and the same thing as this. Just consideration. What did we think about in the process that we went through? So see you in the next video.